Probably seems unusual for me to record a video about what I see when I'm reading greens from my garage, but trust me, it'll all make sense. So we've done a lot of videos on the channel on the EGOS green reading system, Expert Green Reading Operating System. It's the method I use now exclusively because it's the fastest, most accurate green reading method I've ever found, and that includes Aimpoint and Tour Read and a ton of others. And there's still a little bit of confusion about helping people understand this green reading method. I'm not paid to promote it or anything like that, but I want you to be able to read greens very well and very fast. And so in this video, I'm going to walk you through what I see when using this system. Now, to understand what I got to see, you have to understand a few things. I'm in my garage floor today, which is absolutely perfectly level. So a putt on this garage floor, at least in theory, if it was constructed correctly and it is perfectly level, would be that the putt would go dead straight. Now, when we're out on the golf course, we're going to be standing on greens, which most of the time are not flat and level and have some slope to them. And so when you use the EGOS system, you're standing over your ball on that slope, and you spread your feet wide apart so that you're absorbing that area and getting the slope in the area where your ball is and the area that the ball's traveling over to get to the hole. And so what I've done is I've set up here in my garage a speed square, which this is a perfect right triangle, 90 degrees, 90 degrees. And so in the garage, the speed square is setting on a flat surface. This is a straight line. And I've got that represented here with the speed square and the alignment sticks attached to that, so they're going perfectly straight up and down when the speed square is on a flat surface. And so using the EGOS system, you go out on the green, you spread your feet wide apart, and if it's a perfectly flat surface, your spine is straight up and down. That would be a straight putt. But most of the time you're standing on a slope, and so I'm tilting my spine here, which you wouldn't do. But if I lift one of my feet off the ground, there's a very slight movement in my spine to maintain my balance. So now I'm not perfectly vertical. I lift this foot off the ground, and I've got a little bit of angle here. Now there's three mathematical angles that are involved. If I'm on a ground that's sloped, let's say it's sloped that way, then this foot is going to be higher than this foot. And that is an angle. Well, guess what? If I started with this straight line and my one foot is higher than the other, well, now I still have a straight line here, but it's not the same as it was. There's now an angle in the middle, right here, where I'm putting my thumb. Now, this is a right triangle. Right triangle mathematics from 10th grade say that this angle where I'm waving my thumb at you is the same as this angle where one foot is higher than the other foot. So we go out on the green using the EGOS green reading method, and we spread our feet wide over the ball. Our spine, we're holding straight, so it will match. This represents our spine. It will match whatever slope there is on the ground. Now let's talk about what I see when I'm out on the green using this method. If I were on a perfectly level surface, like a garage floor or a perfectly flat green on the golf course, which probably doesn't exist, but you get the point, then this string weight holding the plumb bob would be so perfectly in line with this straight alignment rod, which represents my spine, that standing over the ball, I wouldn't be able, or standing back here behind this, I wouldn't be able to distinguish it. There would be no angle. There would be no angle here. And that would look like this when I held my putter up and I got my hand and my putter shaft. It would be perfectly aligned with my eye, my spine, and the center of the hole. In fact, my hand might literally block out the hole so you could not see it. But to show you how a tiny bit of slope makes a difference, I put one of the floor mats out of a car on the garage surface here. And you'll notice the speed square is designed here to illustrate my feet being spread wide apart. So this would represent one toe, and this would represent the other toe with my feet spread out wide apart. So this foot would be on the higher end because of the floor mat there, creates slope going that way. And then when I stand on that slope with my feet spread wide apart, then my spine is going to represent that slope. And so there's going to be a little angle here. And you can see in this setup, what I'm calling the range pole that represents my spine is now angled off of this straight, truly vertical line that hangs from my garage ceiling that we use as a parking aid. So now, if I'm all square to the hole and my spine, and I don't do anything to tilt it or move it or change it, my spine is naturally going to reflect this tiny bit of slope, and that's showing here. Now that creates an angle, and your 10th grade right triangle geometry says that this angle created because one end of the speed square is higher than the other, that angle is the same as this angle represented by the straight line of the plumb bob here. Then when I hold my putter up in front of my face and the lower end of my putter is perfectly in line with this straight line from me to the hole, the upper end of my putter is at an angle here. You can see this angle. And your 10th grade right triangle geometry says angle on the ground, this angle, and this angle are all three the same. And that means right in front of my face, I have a starting point to aim the putt. And that angle is accurately representing the slope of the ground. Here's what I see when I'm looking at that. And you can see where my fingers are. And that we're calling a gap. And I put down a coin to mark that gap. You got to remember that that target where your fingers are beside the hole is not where you want to start the putt. You still have to calibrate for speed, but that gives you a starting point. So you learn to use this method, and then you go out on the practice green, pick a putt that's 10 feet that you know has some slope, use this method, put a tee down or a ball marker like I've done here as that aiming point that you predicted. Then go twice that far from the middle of the hole and put a second one, 3 times that far from the middle of the hole for a third one, and then 4 times that far from the middle of the hole for a fourth one. And then you take putts at the speed that you like to roll your putts, and you aim at the first tee, and the second tee, and the third tee. And the one that you hit on that intended line at the right speed that goes in tells you, oh, it was the third tee. Today is a 3 gap day. So then you go out on the green and you line up square on a hole with your feet now reflecting the slope, and you don't do anything with your body or your head or your neck to make any twist. You let it happen naturally. Now my spine is reflecting the slope, and I hold my putter up in front of my face, and then the bottom of my putter is on that straight line, but the part where my hands are is off that straight line between me and the hole. There's a gap. That's my one gap. And now I need to go how many? 2, 3, or 4? You decided that on the practice green, and now you know exactly where to start every putt. So here's how to calibrate your putter so that it hangs truly vertical and you get the angles and the gaps correct. So talking about how to calibrate your putter. As you can see here, I've got a straight edge, which is the brick wall on the front of the house. And you can tell looking at that, well, that putter is not 100% vertical. Is that wall out of line? No, the wall is square. But watch what happens when I twist the putter in my fingers. Whoa, there's a point right there at which that putter gets, and it's a little windy today, so it's blowing around, but you can see right there, that putter gets 100% vertical with that line, which is the side of the house. And I look, where is that toe pointing? That's pointing at about 11 o'clock. So now out on the green, I'm going to walk out and take a reading, and I'm not going to put my putter like this. I'm going to hold it up with my hands in front of my eye, and I'm going to twist it until my putter face is pointing at 11, or my putter toe is pointing at 11 o'clock, because I know that's true vertical. And that's how you calibrate your putter, unless you already have a putter that hangs 100% true vertical. If you have a HONU putter like I do, it hangs 100% true vertical. If you have an older directed force putter, they hang 100% true vertical. If you have a newer one of these putters that calls themselves zero torque or that kind of thing, they're target balanced, and so that putter is set so that the face always points at the target, which may or may not be 100% true vertical. So you want to calculate that and hold that the same way every time. And I'm not being critical of any type of putter, so let's don't get into those comments. Just trying to help you make sure that you understand when your putter is hanging true vertical, so you can use this method and be efficient and effective. Hope this helps clarify what I see when I'm using the Ego screen reading method and what you should be looking for. If it does, give the video a thumbs up. If it doesn't, then put your questions in the comments section, because I really want to help you be better at reading greens and making more putts. Be sure to check out the full Ego screen reading method playlist that I put in the video description. Share this with a friend who needs it. Subscribe to the channel. Take the opportunity to check out this video on the screen now. And in the meantime, here's to you making more putts.